Welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me. This is a nice new setup.
It's very nice to have you here.
I know, across the table.
Build it on this podcast.
Across the table. Does it feel like we're having
I feel
an
like
interview?
I'm interviewing you. Yeah, I know.
What kind of questions would you ask me for a job interview?
First of all, how dare you?
How dare you?
Second of all, who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are? Have you had any bad interviews?
Oh yeah.
Not the ones where you didn't do well, but more like it was like crappy, like bad scenario scenes.
I feel like every interview is like that, unless you're going for like a very specific type of job, like whether it's like maybe HR or something. I feel like the jobs that I always applied to were very entry level kind of jobs. Mm-hmm. So all the questions were very basic. And
like, how are you working with a team? Or something?
Yeah. Name one situation where you feel like you could have been more challenged, or what's one that's like a classic, a situation where you feel like something was, what's the question? It's one that's like on all of them. Basically, like, how would you have done it differently or something, where you like feel like you
conflict resolution. Like, tell us a time
that's
where
all they want to see.
You were in conflict with an employee, and how did you resolve it?
Yes, exactly. How was the conflict resolved? Because that's what they want to see, is like how you problem solve and conflict resolution. Oh my gosh, thinking back, my heart is like starting to pound because I hated interviews.
Gross feeling. I felt like
what's the last interview you did?
St. Luke's. So that was my last when I was respiratory therapy. I pride myself of being good in interviews because I feel like I can win somebody over.
And you're good at
like, I'll be like big small
faking
talk.
it until you make it. Yeah,
I'll make I hate small talk, and that goes on record.
But you're also really good at it.
I'm really good when it comes to like, okay, you got 30 minutes, put it on right now, and like that's.
You could be like not knowing what you're talking about in the slightest, but you will make it look like you do.
And the women. Interviewees or interviewers, the bosses, they're easier than the guys. The guys, they can smell it. But if it's like a classic boss who doesn't take care of herself, it's so much easier to like get in with all the small talk and a lot of ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
cracking
for sitting.
A joke, but like in the right timing and appropriate. And you just have to feel them. But I was never good at that because I didn't allow myself to even like relax a little to be able to go there and try to like make small talk. I just get like so overwhelmed and inside my head, and I'm just already like so nervous. And you know me, I don't do well under pressure. I freeze. And so interviews were like the classic, I feel like I'm going to throw up and I'm going to die all in the same.
What my strategy was always,
breath.
My strategy was always to build rapport with the person. So, they'll be like, oh my gosh, they'll be like, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing well. How are you? Like, oh, we're trying to play catch up. And you're like, oh, I know what that's like. We have 3 kids and one of them is a baby. And she's like, oh, so you got your hands full. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to sleep. Like, you start building, doing this dance.
I've never done that because I'm just too nervous. I'd just be like, ha ha ha, okay. And then I just sit there.
I think my theory was always like, if you could be memorable to that person.
That's exactly what
out of all the candidates, they'd be like, who was the person that's not necessarily the most qualified, but who stood out that I had like built rapport with. It was harder with guys because I think guys, I don't know if they're a little bit more like cutthroaty, like the bosses, that are like interviewing, because like some of the ones I did was like in sales, so they're like, they know the BSers could smell the BS kind of thing.
So they kind of know they're a little bit more.
But with like all the women bosses that I had, like, it was always just like make small talk. They had great questions, but it was more of like, that was my thing, is I had to rely on my, what's the word for it? On my charisma, I guess. Do you have a specific interview that you were like, that has to be like going on record in my life?
I don't have anything specific where like I tanked, but I do remember a few.
Cringe too, like not necessarily tanked, but like was it cringe?
I remember one where I don't remember where I was applying to. I did not get the job. I think it was Starbucks when I was like 18, and everybody applies to Starbucks at that age. And I just remember there was actually one question he asked me, and I think I said I don't know.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's one of those, the biggest taboos.
Yeah, you can't say I don't know.
You got to come up.
even if you don't know, you have to be like, oh gosh, let me think about, it's been a long time, or you kind of
you can break it down too. So for example, if I don't know what kind of question to ask you, but I could imagine them going, can you recall a time that you got in a confrontation with an employee? And you're like, oh gosh, I don't think I ever did.
Yeah.
But you don't answer that question.
You can't answer it like that.
You could start it with, you're like, I don't think I've ever can come up with one off the top of my head. And then what's followed after that is
like a really small
bits. Be like, well, I mean, there's been times where I was maybe irritated with a colleague who, took two,
they didn't show up on time.
They didn't show up on time.
I was always on time.
But then you follow through also, like, because I know the importance of like getting this, staying on top of it. So
see, but the thing that's like, I didn't think about things like that when I was 18, and also I didn't have very many jobs up until I was 18, so I don't have like the experience. And at that point, I didn't think about just like BSing and just saying something. I always thought I had to be like really answer exactly like what happened in that scenario.
You girls it's interesting. 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds, they have, males and females, they have such different types of beginner jobs. Some of them overlap, like Target, right? Starbucks. But for the most part, a lot of 18-year-old girls like nannied. So it's all like under the table. There's really not some serious job interview.
You don't do an interview.
You just kind of click with the person and they're available.
Yeah.
And then there's and then after that, it's like you had like you work for your uncle at a dry cleaning place. Again, like another little hookup kind of thing. You didn't really have.
I didn't have a ton of.
You didn't have a lot of crappy jobs. I had nothing but crappy jobs.
Really?
Yeah.
I probably didn't. I mean, I only worked in retail once when I was like 19. It was kind of like Forever 21 kind of store.
You didn't even make it to the real Forever 21.
No.
You had to get the.
What was it called?
The replica.
Wet Seal.
Remember
I told you about it?
We spoke about Wet Seal.
I worked there for like a year.
And we learned, when you told that story on the podcast, we learned what sequin dresses are. Yeah.
Yes.
See, I pay attention when you talk.
Good job.
Thanks.
Comes full circle.
I had a lot of really crappy jobs.
What was the crappiest job?
Okay, the crappiest job. Two will go on the record for the crappiest job, and I don't know which one's the best. The first
or the worst.
Yeah, the first one made it to the list of the crappiest job. The first one was they called us food servers, not even waiters, but food servers at a retirement home.
Oh,
so they have like a dining room. I was 14 or 15. I think 14 because in Seattle you could start, I think, working under
15?
Under certain hours you can work there. Yeah. So you put on this bellboy looking outfit, right? These ruffles, button up shirt.
You had to actually wear it?
And then tucked it into black slacks. That thing was white.
Oh, and my gosh.
So all the people who stayed at the retirement home would come to this main dining room and they all sit there and then you would come out with a cart first, and then that's breakfast. And so would you like cottage cheese? Would you like oatmeal, like prune juice, and then after that you bust it all down, right? And they're still sitting there for the lunch or dinner. And then you come out, and there's usually two options, right? There's either would you like the chicken or the pork, and then there's also like these like side options too, where somebody has like more restrictions, or there's always a sandwich that's available. There's always like tapioca pudding or something like that. And so you come up to a table of 4 people, and you go, hi, today we have this, and then we have that.
That's literally it.
And then they can make something else. And of course, you have those. Can you take some rye bread and you put some chicken on it, and then let me go check. Yeah. So then you go in the back, and they basically order. Lunch lady style put the thing together and bring it out, and then you bust that down again, and then you start doing the silverware. Like
But why was it like such a terrible job?
I don't know what I just hated it. I hated. I don't know, to be honest with you. I hated the fact that I had to walk 3 miles to work and back.
That sucks.
So I get to have that story.
Yeah. Uphill both ways?
Uphill both ways. Downhill both ways. Downhill both ways. I remember how much, because I would work almost like every Saturday and Sunday. I remember I was also, that job, it's interesting. I haven't thought about the job in a long time. you're also dealing with old people, right? It's
cranky.
It's whatever.
People.
I was just thankful for a job. And then the second job, which I probably have more reasoning why it's the worst job, was I worked as the membership sales at 24 Hour Fitness in Seattle. And the thing about that job was anytime there's a job like this is like the worst job ever, where it's commission versus salary.
Yeah.
Or sorry, hourly versus commission. And what happens is,
was it commission or hourly?
It was hourly versus commission. So what does that mean is if you have this, let's say, imaginary bank of commission that's going into your commission bank, right? And then you have another bank that's your hourly bank. If you didn't sell enough, your bank in commission is low, but you got, let's say, 40 hours that week of work, you only got that 40 hours.
The base pay.
But as soon as the commission bank breaks that hourly bar, then you get that plus that.
Oh yeah.
So you get your hour
incentive to sell.
And I don't think it's necessarily So it's you get that and that, and so I think I've only made and so they always sell you on like the amount of money you could make because it's sales, right? Anytime in sales is. And you'll meet people, and this is to this day, whenever I meet people who tell me their sales numbers, whether they're like a realtor or, sell Amway or some pyramid scheme thing, they'll say like, this is what they make. I make $9,000 a month. No. What you're just exempling is that you are on track to make $9,000 a month. Like you've crunched what the first 2 weeks look like, and they're really good 2 weeks. And then it tapered off.
Right.
But you're not making $9,000 a month. Or you made $9,000 a month one time.
Yeah.
So with me,
always take the best month.
That was the thing with me is I even did that. I think I got, so keep in mind, I was like 19 years old working there, right? So it's whatever. It's not like you're making a lot of money anywhere. I remember specifically making, probably my best paycheck was, it was a 2-week paycheck, and it was probably like $2,500 in 2 weeks, right? Is because the commission and all that stuff. And it only happened one time. And guess what I kept telling people?
Everybody,
I kept telling people I make $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's what I kept telling people. That's what salespeople do.
Yeah.
Don't ever believe it. Yeah.
Until, we're going to sell something. I'm just kidding. Okay, so now as you were talking about that, I just remembered a job that I kind of had, but not really. Okay, let me think how old I was. Gosh, I had to be like...
You started a sentence, I had a job, but that I really didn't have a job. Did you they never hired you, but just kept showing up and doing the work?
No, I'll explain why I didn't really have the job, but I kind of did. So
sounds sketchy.
I know. As I said that, it sounded kind of
creeperish, stockish.
Something's fishy here. When I was I keep thinking 19. All my jobs are like 19.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had to have been around 18 because I think 17, 18. I was looking for a job, and one of my friends was like, she went through this staffing place that help you find jobs, and she's like, go to them, they'll they have some certain things that they have openings for. And so I went, and the gal was like, yeah, we have this position for okay, I'm trying to think of the title because
assistant.
No. So basically she's like, you take surveys.
Oh.
But she said these type of surveys are you have to hand them out only at the airport. So at the airport terminals, you're going to be handing out these surveys to people.
Okay, first of all, right out of the gates, sounds like the worst job in the world.
I know.
And the reason
I forgot about this job. I probably blocked it out of my
I want to hear
memory.
more about this, but the reason I say this is because I hate sales.
Yeah. And
I
then
hate
you pair it
knocking
with
on
an
people's
airport.
Door. Yes. Go ahead. I want to hear more.
So I was like, oh, cool. And they got me all this level whatever clearance to go through the
which you thought
security.
Was super cool.
I thought that was super cool. So I went through all the whatever,
TSA
stuff.
pre-check. That's what you went through.
They had me go through all that, and it took a while because they have to get all the security stuff and your background check and everything. So I went through the process, and I thought it was going to be so cool because I'm I remember the first day they're like, just do it. There wasn't set hours, which is nice, but you had to have a certain number of surveys completed within a week or something span, and then you just keep doing that.
So kind of
commission.
They sell it to you. I was like, you're your own boss.
Yeah, basically. It's so flexible. The hours are so flexible.
Yeah.
And so I walk in. I remember walking my first day. I had my little, like, you know, you're trying to dress like professional. And I have like my stack of surveys. And I walk in and I'm like walking around. And you know, the airport, people are like.
You're stressing me out right now.
Yeah.
You're stressing me out with the story.
Looking around. And I literally didn't hand out one single survey to a person because I felt so awkward.
So you're in oh my gosh.
I was like, I can't do this. Oh my gosh, I can't do this. I was like imagining myself sitting at like the airport terminal getting ready to board.
The last thing you want to do is fill out a survey.
I know. And I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. So I walked out. I spent like probably like 20 minutes just walking around, and I'm like, people are probably thinking I'm like, who's this person just like walking around the airport? Yeah. They're gonna like detain me. So then I walked out with my full stack of surveys. Well, I mean,
you quit.
Well, I left the airport, and
because you still have 5 more days to finish the survey.
Yeah. And then I like never went back. And I remember they like called me and were like, "Did you do it?" And I'm like, "No, I can't do it."
Do you know? Have you ever walked out on a? So
I basically walked out on the job. That was a walkout,
right? So okay.
But I was just like, I can't. There's just no way. And I mean, I don't know why. Like, who would think of something like that? Surveys?
Yes.
At the airport?
At the airport. And the way they're looking at it is not the fact that it's the most efficient. It's just this is the most traffic.
Yes.
They always look in traffic.
People, yeah.
That's why people go set up booths at the mall, right? And you know, those little booths like between the stores, right?
Yeah.
They sell little trinkets.
So many people walk through that.
You always go like, oh, well, you're not. First of all, it costs a lot of money to lease your space there, but you also question, well, how much money are you really making there? It's a numbers game, right? Mm-hmm. If you ask 100 people, out of the 100 people, there's going to be maybe 20 that will say yes.
Yeah, right.
And that's your numbers game.
Yeah.
Ask more people, get in front of more people.
Yeah, and you know my personality. I'm like so non-confrontational. So if I even made eye contact with somebody, I would just be like,
but that's not even a confrontation thing. Like, I don't want to be like intrusive on people, especially in the airport.
I know. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the worst idea I could have ever had.
I've had, the only bad dreams I've ever had that are like a bad night's sleep is the ones, and they usually have the same thing in common. It's me debating whether or not I'm going to go into the job or am I going to walk out of it. Usually it's going in. Here's an example. I haven't worked as a respiratory therapist in a while. And every once in a while, I'll still have this repeating nightmare where I'm like, you know, let's say it's 15 minutes before I start my shift and I'm still at home. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to work. Well, I don't even work there anymore. Why am I going? Oh, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late. And then it's just repeating cycle of me going, like, I need to go. Yeah. And you go, no, you, who cares? And you just do that over and over and over again.
I've had some of those where mine is always being late or completely forgot that I need to be at work. And in my dreams, I don't remember like what job I have in my dream, but I just remember always it's like the cycle of like, oh my gosh, wasn't I supposed to work today? Or like, wasn't I supposed to? Yeah. Or it's like 5 minutes till or an hour after, and I'm like, it's on repeat. Yeah, and it just keeps going. You're like, oh my gosh.
What's funny is when I worked as a respiratory therapist, I worked in ERs and ICUs and all that stuff, and I was around a lot of trauma and a lot of like critical responses. So life and death, the stuff you're always around. But the wildest thing is, you know, in the 7 years I was a respiratory therapist, I have never had a bad dream about like somebody's dying and I can't do my job right or something like that. But the only dreams that are constantly like the nightmares that I've had, I don't have them anymore because I'm not like, well, actually I had one maybe a year ago, but it was the restaurant industry. And the dreams are always the same. And if anybody served tables, you might have the same dreams, like nightmares, where you're being sat and double sat and triple sat.
Because that stress level,
because they're supposed to go in rotation, right? Yeah. And you haven't greeted a table, and next thing you know, you look back in your section of like, you know, 10 tables, and you haven't greeted anybody. They're all full. Kyle, did you ever have something like that?
Oh, I still have them.
Do you still have them?
Bartending.
Yeah, you're like, I have. Oh my God, this is such like a war story.
Because the stress level you must have.
Yes.
At that like moment is insane.
It's those jobs like that, bartending and serving, like it's such an efficiency, like the secret is efficiency, right? Be good at it, be social, be good, but efficiency, like you have to know, okay, I gotta go check here, I gotta check that, you gotta always stay on top of it.
Time management, too.
And like balancing so many tables and be like, where they're probably finishing the dessert, or okay, their food should be almost done.
Like staying ahead of it.
Then so going back to this, my fear or my recurring nightmares.
I do remember you telling me you had a lot of those.
I remember going specifically one time where I was like this isn't a dream. I'm walking out, and then I walk out, and I'm in my parking lot, and then I drive off, and then I keep having this back and forth thing in this dream of like, I need to go back. Like, but if I go back, there's so many tables that are there. And like, no, screw this. I'm not going back. You know, like as if they're all waiting for me. Yeah. You know,
just you and
just me there
specifically.
Oh my gosh, dude, the service industry, man, it creates these like shell shock stories.
Oh yeah, the trauma you experienced.
Oh my gosh,
I never was in the service industry, so I never like even was a hostess or anything. My sister was, but I knew enough about myself to know I would not survive being like a server.
But hostesses are a different story. Hostesses
are different, yeah. But like a server, I knew myself well enough at that point in time where I knew I just would not survive.
Now, I will say that in that industry, being like the bus boy is usually the most cush, because like half the guys that I worked with, like they smoke pot, but they're the ones that you can kind of get in your own zone, you know, dick around as long as the tables are clear and reset up. You have
a little bit more time.
Maybe. They're more of like, not to diminish it, but they're kind of like in the background where they're just like nobody's waiting on them unless like the table's gone and somebody just go clear the table real quick.
True. And then my sister, I remember, worked as a server, and she would have like some stories to tell me, and I was like, I'm never gonna go into like, you know, that industry. And then there was one time she came home like crying because she had such horrible tables. And I mean, she worked at Red Robin, so it wasn't like you're not getting like
the elite.
And she was working the elite, and she was working like more of the day shift, so it's like you get all the tips for dinner.
Correct.
Usually, right?
Correct. Yeah, the big tippers are in dinner.
Yeah, and I remember one time she came home like just crying because her tips over like a span of 6 hours, she got $2.
Oh, really? Because she paid out everybody?
No, like that was her tip. Yeah.
Well, how many tables? Well, I mean,
she did pay out
because you got to pay at the bartender. You got to pay.
Yeah.
Tip
no,
out the
she said that
hostesses.
whole day all she got was $2 in tips because people were so stingy that day for whatever reason.
I don't believe that.
You don't believe it?
The most stingiest I've ever seen, like, and I get it, lunchtime. The thing is with these like tips is the way you make your money is the bigger the bill gets. Your job is to rack it up, right? And so the rule of thumb is you pay
for dessert
20%, whatever. So 20% on a $150 bill is a different story than lunchtime. Somebody 20. Snuck in for 2 for $20.
Yeah, but still, that's, you know, you get a little bit. And she was just like, there was like 2 tables who didn't tip her at all.
Yeah.
She was just like, I remember she was just like crying.
Yeah.
I was like,
that sucks.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Because it messes with you. Yeah.
It does mess with you. I hated it. I mean, I liked it in the Manila because it's always fun when you're with a really fun group of people on the shift. Mm-hmm. So you kind of are in the trenches together and you kind of joke around together. It makes it fun. If you're not, like in the back kitchen, you kind of goof around. But apart from that, it's, you know, it's a grind.
Yeah. Yeah. I now that I think about it, I didn't have very many like jobs like that. It was mostly nannying for me. That sucked,
yeah. Because you're only...
Which was really easy.
Bad stories are like, this kid is a jerk.
Yeah. This kid was a jerk.
Which is funny because half the names that we try to go with our kids' names, like you're like, no, I babysat a kid with that kind of name.
I didn't like his name,
I didn't like his name.
He was a jerk.
Yeah.
And then going back to like interview questions, I feel like the only time I had more of a specific type of questioning was when I applied for the job at the law firm, because that was a little bit more, even though they weren't like law related questions or like anything like that. I do remember because it was a administrative position. She asked me questions about like Microsoft Word and actually like data entry and things like that, where I was like,
was she like, how would you start a new cell kind of thing? Like,
yeah.
Would you, so you have to know, like, okay, you go
what's the shortcut for cut or like what is it called, cut and paste and things like that on Microsoft Word. But the nice thing was she wasn't like there. It was on paper. And so she actually left the room, and I ended up like Googling.
Oh, really?
Things.
Look at
I was
you.
like, I hope there's no cameras in
That's
here.
called fake it till you make it.
That was the time I finally started realizing I'm going to fake it. Yeah.
That's good.
I was just hoping, she wasn't like watching me on a camera.
Those are such silly questions. I mean, I get it.
Because it's stuff you can literally Google. Why would you need to know that off the top of your head?
Let's be honest. I know that they're asking questions, those kind of questions, because they want to see if somebody's bluffing when the requirements on the application said like must be proficient in Word and Excel. That somebody doesn't come in and be like, oh, I'll just learn Word and Excel. They want to make sure that you
at least the basics.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's dumb that they're going
so specific.
Hey, go like right now off the top of your head, how would you go do that? Like there's stuff I do on Photoshop that if you're like, tell me verbatim right now how you do it, and I go, I don't know, I just remember what the thing was, and I just click on that, and then I click that, and
you know what another question was that I found really interesting, because this was what right before Trump was elected, and one of our questions was, how do you feel about Trump wanting to build a wall between
2020? Build that wall, as I kept chanting.
Make America great again.
Oh my God.
No, but that was a legitimate question.
She's canceled, folks.
I'm canceled. No, that was a legitimate question, and it was kind of interesting.
Because the firm was in immigration law. That's
yes. So obviously they were very against.
It's not like this is like an injury lawyer. Like, what do you think about Trump?
What do you think about Trump? Policies? No, this was a immigration law firm. So I mean, they were, representing people who had come here.
They want to make sure you're on the same side.
They really wanted you to be on the same side.
That would have been an awkward
I know.
You come into
I'm
work.
just drawing a picture of like the flags and I know. Well, and then I was running, I wonder, because I got hired for that job, and I was like, I wonder if like everybody else just had like different, because obviously she was looking for a very, not specific, but an answer that was leaning a certain direction.
Right.
So I felt like I stayed pretty neutral, but I don't know.
It would have been funny if she was more vague. She goes, would you like, here's a couple of pictures, tell me which one you like. This is a picture with
number
a wall.
Number 1 or
this
number 2?
This is a picture with no walls. Oh, interesting. She does not like walls.
Which one do you like, number 1 or 2? 1 or 2? 3 or 4?
Which one's better, 4 or 5? By the way, that's another when it comes to stupid questions, I guess this is the topic of this episode.
Stupid interview or stupid questions.
Stupid questions get stupid prizes.
Gets what?
Stupid questions get stupid prizes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember being asked, first of all, the optometrist could suck it, because there's a point where after the first 2 slides,
they all look the same.
They all look the same. And I didn't realize until this last time that I like my final checkup, she goes, it's okay to say if they look the same. And I go, oh well, we could have been done 7 questions ago.
I know, because you're always looking for which one is just a little bit better.
Yeah, and it gets to the point like I don't know. Stop. Like I think we hit our thing. You can't micro down.
That's what they're trying to do, though. They're trying to dial it in so finely that they're like.
No, I think they just like to. Sometimes I also wonder like if nothing makes a difference, but I want to see what. Definitely.
This is an idiot.
You're like, wow, it's super idiot.
Yeah.
Still an idiot. Yeah.
There's somebody in the back just laughing. There's like
lenses.
a camera. Just laughing at us.
A stupid interview question I remember specifically, and for some reason it kind of stayed in the back of my mind, as I was applying to Wells Fargo when I was like, I think 20, 21, and to be like a teller, I think. And I remember the guy that was interviewing me, he would ask me this question. It's it has to be the world's like dumbest question. It's like, if you're an animal, which animal would you be and why?
And why are they asking that question in an interview?
I think they want to see if you're like a go-getter. You know?
I'm a lion. Yeah.
No,
what did you say?
I'm a sloth.
Yeah.
Snuffleupagus from the Sesame Street.
I would be a pig.
Hi.
What did you say?
I think I said something about I was like a cheetah or something like that.
I'm so fast.
So fast.
I go 50 miles an hour all the time.
No, it's
meow.
Meow. It's such a dumb thing, because I guarantee you 90% of the guys are going to say I'm a lion.
Yeah.
I'm dominant.
Like aggressive.
And they're not, right? It's like,
and they're not.
Cal and I were making fun of Chris D'Elia's bit on AlphaCon. There's a conference called AlphaCon, like a real conference.
No.
In Vegas, I think it was.
No.
And it's like it's like these like motivational public speakers that are going over there to be like, gives you these like motivational talks about like being a go-getter. Yeah.
Yeah.
All these things. I think it's somewhat like a leadership thing, but it's also AlphaCon. But Chris D'Elia,
also the name.
But Chris D'Elia had this comic bit about how they should start a BetaCon right across the street from AlphaCon.
AlphaCon. Just right next to it.
It'd be hilarious.
Is it the people that just half-ass things?
Well, the beta cons are like the passive guys. You know, they're not like the alphas. And so his whole thing is like when they show up to beta con, they just get a stack of papers and they try not to bump into each other. Like, oh, sorry.
Sorry, you okay? Didn't mean to touch you there.
Oh, man. It's wild. Some of the things they come up with.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the animal question. Let me ask you this: I'm curious what a woman's response would be if 90% of the guys would say something, pretentious like.
I hate that question so much. I remember being asked that when I was in college, which was also stupid. It was like one of those questions where like you get to know you questions, which
icebreaker questions. Is that what it is?
Yeah, which I don't understand why they do that in college.
Yeah,
this was at Boise State. Yeah, and they asked us that question. They like went around the room and you had to answer it. And I think I said I would be a giraffe because I want to be able to like see. I like to like see everything. Something stupid like that.
Did you feel that way about it?
Or you know what I should have said?
What?
I am a giraffe because I'm better than everybody, so I'm at the top.
Now you're talking. That's something we learned from AlphaCon.
AlphaCon teaches you that you are a giraffe.
You're a giraffe.
You're above everyone.
Yes.
I should have said that.
Think about the tallest animal above the giraffe.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Zero.
So there you go. You have an answer.
Now I have an answer. I'm going to say that if I get asked that again.
I'm very happy that, and I don't know if people usually, when that happens, but I'm really glad of two things. I'm glad that I never have to take another test again. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that I never have to interview for anything ever again.
You mean you didn't ask Kyle what animal he would choose to be?
Kyle was telling me stories that he was going to do videography stuff for somebody else. And like, there were like legit interviews.
They have like an interview process.
Maybe Keller Williams.
Yeah.
Oh, for them. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Something firm. About like if a client's there or something like that, what would you do?
It was like all personality. It had nothing to do with video.
Really?
Oh, weird.
Yeah. You had this is another cringe thing. You again, when you're kind of your own business owner, like you don't really have to do interviews, right? Mm-hmm. And you take people on as clients essentially, right? And it was funny that when you were doing staging, there's multiple times you went on interviews where the realtors
were like interviewing me to see if I would be a good fit.
Yeah, they're like, what would you do? What would you do when you create a design and the homeowner doesn't like it? And you're like, what? I'm not jumping through circles for you.
I did that once where I actually like went into like their office and they kind of did like an interview like with me, and I remember feeling so like because I didn't like that feeling of like, I'm a business owner. If somebody doesn't like my stuff, like we just like,
it doesn't work out.
It doesn't work out. Or we kind of learn if we're going to vibe before we start the process. Right. And so I remember them just asking me, cause they wanted to use me as like a stager, but not like, they wanted to do, what is it called? Consultations, mm-hmm. where I would like come in and tell people, you should, as they're selling their homes, you need to get rid of this. You should change this kind of thing. So it's like the consultations for people who are living in their house and trying to sell it. Which,
how do we spruce this up on a minimal budget? With no budget. Sorry, no budget.
Yeah, no budget. Yeah, $0. But also tell me what I need to do, and you do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that feeling. It felt like I was at a job interview. I remember telling you that. I'm like, I feel like I was just at a job interview, and like, I didn't do well.
And it puts you down too. Like it to me, I imagine if I was in that kind of position, I'm like, hey guys, you're the one that called me for a particular reason. I love telling people, like telling like brands or clients that they're like, when I tell them like, hey, I don't think this is going to be a good fit.
Mm. Because you learn enough about yourself and what you do that you can already tell if something is probably just not going to work, or it's going to, you're going to not like it or the project, or you're trying to make it fit into something that it's not.
I was like working with, we were having on a few conference calls with like one brand, and they're like, they wanted to create some video stuff, but it was more of like discussing why their product is more superior to this other product and why I went with it. And they wanted this like independent video to go out of just me talking about this thing. Right. And it made me also realize like some people's businesses marketing teams, they come up with this dumbest ideas that might sound like it'll attract people, but in the platform that it's in, it just doesn't work.
They probably don't have the experience of working with people.
Well, and I told him, I was like, hey, listen, I've made videos where I would be talking about certain stuff, or maybe it's a question and answer video, and those videos don't perform well. It's like, so, and my mantra is like, if I win, you win. Like there's no part of my business where I win and then you lose. Even if you paid me, and you do pay me, I still lose if the video doesn't perform well, right? Because I felt like I created a poor product, right? Or poor representation of a product.
That reflects your
me
brand,
in my brand, and that's a really crappy feeling. Somebody pay you advertising dollars, and then they didn't get the views that we all hope they would get. Yeah. That's a very crappy feeling. Yeah. But also, by me putting out videos that don't get views, it kind of destroys your. So you know how like your Instagram portfolio is your portfolio, right? Your YouTube page is your portfolio in a way where when a brand finds you and they'll scroll through the first couple last videos of your channel and they'll see like, 500,000 views, 100,000 views, and then they'll see 28,000 views. That's them going like, oh, so he doesn't have that many videos.
Yeah.
So that's like another thing that adds it. You want to put winners out there. And so I tell people all the time, brands, and I was like, hey, I see what you're coming up with. This is not how my channel works, mostly because I've done this long enough to know what content works and what content doesn't work.
Yeah.
By you just telling me that, it'd be cool if you made a video about talking about these 3 lampshades and how much a great deal for 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll take your marketing dollars. You'll burn that. You'll probably never get that budget again.
Yeah.
I'll be fine for the first couple of videos until the brands see that the viewership is going down. So there has to be like, I think it's good to say no. I think it's really good. And I also think
it's a good place to be and
it's
to
empowering
be able to, because I know in the beginning.
Yeah, I took everything.
Yeah, because you have to, right? In order to build your brand and have people, I don't know about views, but like that's how you build your
in the beginning,
business.
You got to do anything and everything just because you need the money to pay for the equipment.
Yeah. And in order to sustain what you're doing and build your experience. And
that's another cringe thing. I feel like if you and I scroll to like the very infancy stages of our Instagram account,
if I look at my early staging pictures, I cringe.
Well, not even so staging bad. Well, sure, I get the staging, but like to me, some of the air quotes sponsored Instagram posts that I have,
you were very salesy in the beginning.
I was so salesy in the beginning.
Yeah, because you don't know.
You don't.
You figure that out along the way.
Yes.
And now it's nice because people now, and I think people also didn't understand it back then, and now people understand this is how content creators make their money. So it's like in order for us or you to bring valuable content or entertaining content, you have to have these ad reads. And so I think people now that consume the content understand that, and so it's easier, I think, for people. They still view the content versus before. I feel like there was this period of time where people were like, I hate that you just do so many sponsorship or ad things. It's so annoying.
Well, in the beginning stages, I think the trick was,
and not you specifically, I'm saying I would see people comment on other influencer stuff saying that I love your content, I wish you did less promotion, you promoted all these brands less because I know you're making money off of it, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, those people can suck it. No, it's more of like in the beginning stages, the trick was you find brands you can naturally integrate their things. So for example, if you're pouring a concrete slab for a grill station, then Quikrete happens to be the sponsor.
Perfect.
Awesome. Perfect. But the thing is like those deals are so far and few between that what ended up happening, some company would be like, here's a lighter, and then you have to figure out a project to incorporate a lighter.
And then you figure it. So before you would build your projects around that deal versus now.
Yes. Now one of my favorite things is there's an ad that comes on. That's all. And I love the fact that we do that.
That's what most people do now.
We've done things like Bloomscape, which is like a plant thing.
Yeah, but it's just an ad read.
It's an ad read. I've done men's hair loss thing. I've done Manscaped.
Yeah. Underwear.
I got proposed recently to do CBD.
Really?
CBD.
Didn't you do MeUndies?
I didn't do. I buy MeUndies.
I thought you did undies.
No. MeUndies is a huge sponsor to a lot of podcasts.
Maybe I just have heard it, so I thought you did it.
Yes. Sorry.
Darn. I mean, wow.
Oh, you're not MeUndies level?
Oh, this is awkward. You didn't do MeUndies?
Do you? So you just do YouTube for fun?
Yeah. So you're not making money on YouTube.
Yeah. So, and it's to me like it's almost kind of comical, right? Like we just did
they don't care. They just want the eyes.
Kyle and I just did a thing for a video game thing.
Oh yeah.
That was the worst one because, well, I don't know. Kyle might say something else is the worst one, but that one was. It was like they wanted me to like not just. It's easy when they say here's a video game like on your phone on your app and you can play it and then say what's cool about it.
Yeah.
But they wanted me to like level up so it doesn't look like I just downloaded it.
Which you did, just
download so I did. And so I spent like an hour playing and then I was like, this is dumb. And then I gave the thing to like Beckham to play. Then to Jack to play. I was like, give me like a higher score.
You level up for me.
Right.
That's hilarious.
And I'll listen to some other podcasters like Christina Pajitsky has the Your Mama's House. And they would do Best Fiends. I think it's
it's a game as well.
It's a game, yeah. And she's like, I love Best Fiends. Here's what I love about Best Fiends. I love that anytime I'm with my kids at the park and I'm just bored. And she goes, and I'm just bored. I'm like, when does that ever happen?
When does that happen? I love it. I know. Now you know, like.
But I love that there's now a space. I think if you're confident enough and you've done this long enough with like you cultivated this with your audience, like what to expect. I think it's freeing first and foremost, but also fun when you make it into a somewhat comical, right? Like, so Andrew Schultz does one where he talks about Blue Chew, which is a men's erectile pill. And he goes, guys, we're going to take a break from this podcast for a second to talk to you about your hard-ons. I need to make sure you guys are running the optimum hard-ons that you guys have. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to bluechew.com.
Yeah, so it's like you're still
I love it. I love it.
Promoting it, but you're not being all weird and awkward and salesy.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like there's somebody on YouTube, what's his name, who you watch?
Demorange?
Yeah, he does a good job too.
Yeah.
It makes it more like funny and not weird and
right.
Like,
well, I think
and now you should buy this because it's awesome.
Yeah. No, it's just make it memorable.
Just integrate it well. Yeah.
I don't think people are waiting. I don't think that people are like, we're only trusting you for that thing. I think the thing is enough people have to say that brand for somebody to
I keep hearing
so if
this.
Somebody said Truebill, they'd be like, oh, yeah, I remember. I heard something about Truebill. What's Truebill? You know, just because they heard it on a podcast. Like MeUndies is a great one. You know, you're like, oh, I heard MeUndies because it was on a podcast.
Yeah, and that's true. That's probably why they do that. They get so many bigger content creators to do the ads for them that you hear it constant. You're like, maybe I should get some. This sounds, pretty cool.
MeUndies are pretty cool, actually.
They look pretty cool.
They're highly recommend MeUndies to a lot of people.
Oh, is this a a word from our
no sponsor. Oh yeah, this is fun.
Oh man, it does kind of give me a little bit of like, I feel like I'm sweating a little talking about interview questions though.
Interview questions.
I don't miss that. I know nobody. Oh, actually, we've met a couple people that have said they love the interview process. Remember?
Who?
And those are the crazy people.
Oh yeah, the people who like to give out flyers.
I feel like
There's also the people who like to get flyers.
That's true. That's actually very true.
Yeah.
No, I feel like we've met a couple people where I remember we would talk about like how annoying interviewing is, and they're like, I love being interviewed. I think it's so like challenging.
Is that a person who is like a stay-at-home person that doesn't have a job or anything? Like, who in the right mind?
I know. Like, this is a person that had a job.
Let's break it down to like, what's the type of personality that does this? Do I know this person?
Yeah.
Interesting. What's the first letter of their first name?
I don't think you'll remember until I have to tell you the full name. But I remember this person. I mean, they're pretty outgoing.
Okay.
And like a people person, very kind. But
do they have hobbies?
Yeah.
Okay.
I always felt that was shocking to hear because nobody likes being interviewed. Yeah. But it's like maybe some people view it as this like challenge of like, I am going to get this job even if I don't want it.
Yeah.
I'm going to like win everybody over. And maybe that's the mindset
people that's like. A pure salesman kind of thing for sure.
This person was a salesperson.
Yeah. I remember it was a job I was interviewing at Bank of America.
Gosh, how many jobs have you interviewed for?
I listen, no joke, if I pull up my resume, I didn't think I kept the job longer than
how
like
many
3
do you
years.
think total? From like when you started till your last
minimum
job?
8. Minimum.
Oh, that's not bad. I thought you were going to say like 20.
No. Like I've had jobs.
8 is a lot.
Job was like, each job was roughly around 2 years.
Yeah.
Like after that, I was like, I should go find something else. No.
I'm ready.
And I don't think I've ever had a job. Like I've never had one of those jobs where it's like I was only around for 6 months or something like that. It was, all of them were committed.
You are a committed person.
Right. But I remember interviewing for Bank of America, and it was a group interview. It was my first group interview, and I didn't know that it was a group interview.
I had a group interview once too. They never called me back. But anyway,
these are tellers, and they were like, they want to see, because as tellers you have to promote certain products that the company offers, like CDs and savings account, high yield savings accounts. And they were like going around in a circle, like, why do you want to work for BOA? And somebody said, it's because it gives you opportunity. That's why Bank of America is the bank of opportunity. You know what I mean?
Somebody did their research.
Somebody
looked at the slogan.
I was like, nice, well done. And then after they were like, okay, so each one of you is going to be given a stationary item, stapler, pencil holder, whatever, and try to convince us that we should get this. I would not do well. Did you do well? What did you get? I did. Mine was a stapler. It was a nice stapler too. It was like a good solid steel one. Yeah.
Did you keep it after?
No, because I would have been fired right away, or not even hired for theft.
Did you get hired?
I did. Yes. Your boy crushed it.
Your boy crushed it.
Mr. Mercer Island, Bank of America, baby.
Ooh, Mercer Island.
I know, rich people.
Did you ever have an interview that you didn't end up getting the job for?
Oh, I'm sure.
You just can't remember because you got them all.
Because it doesn't happen often, because your boy closes.
Do you remember the shoe store? I just remember this. Aldo? Or was that what it called?
Aldo, yeah. They had white loafers for men.
I interviewed, I did a group interview, and there was like 14 of us. There were so many of us. I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like, am I going to stand out? I didn't stand out. They never called me back after the group interview.
You're just kind of like, I'll be in the back here.
Yeah. Oh, because it's like, how can you get through that many people and actually hear what they have to say?
Yeah.
In like whatever an hour you have,
because there are certain jobs out there where it just show up.
Forgot about the group interviews.
Like just show up and do the thing, right? Like that's why it was kind of comical when you started this podcast about questions that you'd be asked in entry level positions, and they'd be like, "How would you want to be challenged more?" And you're like, "If I want to be challenged more, I'd go get a different job that's harder than folding clothes and putting them on the shelves and ringing people up."
Asking people,
That's challenging is not being irritated with my job. Challenging is going doing something where like I'm given more responsibilities to be doing.
It just sucks that it's like this game you have to play. You have to be this certain person, even if you're not, to get the job. And it's like this, just like back and forth game, and everybody has to play it.
I would love to sit in on or watch some video compilations of people like young kids who just don't give an F, and then they're being like interviewed at like Old Navy and be like, what does it look like for you being challenged at work? And just have them be like, I don't know.
I don't ever get challenged.
Maybe bring in my Zen pack in and get my vape in. Yeah. It'd be so great.
I'd be challenged if I wasn't able to vape at work.
Yeah.
That would be such a challenge.
Yeah, just seeing these kids go like,
which actually probably in this day and age, like the Gen Z or whatever,
they're dumb.
It's not. Yeah,
they're real dumb. They're not thinkers.
Not thinkers. Our kids will be though.
Yeah. Is that the Generation Z for them?
No, I think they're like whatever. I don't know what their generation will be. I think Gen Z is like they're like the 20-year-old. No, like the 20-year-olds right now.
Okay.
I think it's like
is Gen Z the wokes right now? The wokies?
2000 to 2000. I don't remember what it is. Yeah, because we're technically millennials because we fall in that category.
Yep, that's what.
Or there's like a Gen X after Gen Z. I don't remember, but anyway.
Okay.
There's too many.
I'm trying to hide these yawns. Anywho, this has been fun.
How dare you? Do I bore you?
No, you don't. I'm excited about my new seat on the podcast. If you guys don't know where I'm sitting, go check out the YouTube version of this. It'll be a lot of fun. It's a hoot.
It's a hoot sitting in that chair.
Sitting in that chair.
I feel like you're like a different person. You were a lot.
I like it.
You're just a lot more.
I feel like now I'm gonna bring more drinks and more like snacks too, because there's opportunity for it now.
You can actually like. We should have like a dinner.
Can I smoke cigars too? I'll get it ventilated if you let me smoke cigars in here.
Get the pipe.
Get the pipe. Folks, thanks. Preach.
Yeah. You guys.
Yeah. Listen what you did. Review it, which
listen.
we appreciate. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.